Okay, it's February 23rd, 2015 here, and we're going to start some seedlings. I know there's 1,000 places you can go and see people start seedlings. I'm just going to show you the way I do it. I want the dates out there, so as you guys see the farm come together and the couple market gardens I plant come together, you can see how early we get started. This is not extremely early. I mean, there's people who plant way earlier than this. We are in just north of Pittsburgh. So, our growing season's short. The tomatoes that we will be growing or planting today are not, something that's native to here. So they would just never fruit in time if we didn't do this. I have a couple things here. Usually I do it we'll show you that, but we're getting moved in. We're in my sunroom of my new house here, and I don't have a potting bench set up yet. That's where we usually work with this. The things I need to do this is I usually mix my own, but there's no shame in using a seed starting mix. This is an all organic seed starting mix. I'm not specific to the brand, but this is what we're going to use because we're on a time pinch to get these going. I'm using some of these 128 cell plug trays. The reason we use these for the starts right at the beginning is you do have some die out or some seeds that don't germinate. So this just takes up a lot less room on the shelf. If I had these in full-size ones, it would take up 3 times the amount of room. So this is just a good way to save some room. Later on this week, we'll be assembling our starter shelves in the basement here with the heater and the grow lights on it, so you'll get to see that. I always have a pencil with me. This is my tool for actually getting the seeds planted and under the soil. I have a supply of water, so I'm going to mix up the soil to be a little bit damp before I pack it in. That's the way I prefer. And then this year, what we've been trying is we want to really keep good track of everything. So this is just, this is nothing special because we're doing actually large batches. So it just tells me where each one of my plants are and what type they are. So when I get to replanting these, I know what they are. I just don't think, oh man, is that a cherry tomato or is that a beefsteak? And you can actually see down here, I labeled it plus, so I know the corner in 01, which corresponds with a mark I put on the tray here. And you can't see that, but I put a plus and an 01. I use a Sharpie, but I tell you what, a paint pen would work perfect, so that wouldn't be lost. And it just helps you keep orientation of your trays. So let's get started here. I'll show you what I do, and we'll go from there. So first off, we're going to open up this bag of starter mix, which when we pour this out, starter mix generally, like when I make it up, I use peat moss, compost, a little bit of vermiculite, it's a real light, fluffy mix. And you can see this one too. It looks like it's probably major part peat moss, which, makes it real nice and fluffy. And ready for the plants. Now we could go ahead and put this in just like this, but what I like to do is I like to add some water to it. It just, that way once we get the seeds in, you can see it sort of bubbles up there, and it just helps it to soak in. If you put this in there without soaking water up into it, or even if you let your plants get too dry, it's hard at times to get that water back into it. It's almost like a sponge floating on top of the water. And without really squeezing and mixing it, you really can't get that water in. I actually may need to go get another pitcher of water for this amount of dirt. You don't want it soaking wet like mud, but it just needs to, it just should be able to clump together. And actually, we're probably just, I tell you what, that was about perfect. You couldn't get any better. It's just, it's just starting to clump together, but it's not, if you squeeze it, the water's not pouring out of it, but it's all pretty damp. Some of these potting mixes, and I'll tell you what, and not potting mix, seed starting mixes, the reason I started getting away from them, and this one actually isn't horrid. I'm not sure if it's our compost they use or what it is, but it sometimes has big chunks, which makes it really hard when you're starting in a tray like a 128 plug tray or even a regular size tray to get them packed in properly. And I mean, if you can imagine a piece of wood like that in there, takes up a lot of your room for soil. So what we're going to do is we're going to get these 2 trays packed up and ready, and then I'll show you my process for getting the seeds in there. So all I do is I rake these in like so. I know, a lot of different people have different methods for it. You don't want it so packed and condensed that that plant's not going to be able to move and spread its roots out, but it needs to be packed in there where there's not a big air pocket in the bottom. So what I generally do is I generally pack it once, take my fingers and just go through, poke it down just real lightly, and it'll take a couple seconds here. Like I said, there's a ton of people out there that have different jigs set up to do this, different methods. If you're small like me, and I mean we do a lot of, today we're going to plant over 200 plants, but it's not, I do this once a year. It's not a big money maker for me, so I don't need it to be something that's done quick, and it just needs to get done. So we just take our time and do it. So there we go, the first tray is done. You can see after I punched it down there, I just went along and put a second layer on top. I leave that layer real light and fluffy. I'm going to set this tray off to the side, and we're going to get this tray here done. I find that this top, this is actually, you can see I've used it for concrete and mortar. I probably, you don't know how many houses got tiled with this thing. But you get them at Home Depot. They aren't that expensive, and it's just a great thing. After I'm done here today, I can leave the soil in it, and next time just come add a little bit of water to it, and it's ready to go. It's not, it's not something I got to clean up every time, and it's just a nice little thing to do it in. So these are all going to get poked down. And re-scraped, and just a little bit more packed in the top here. Like I said, and you can see I'm just using a flat hand. I'm not really pushing them down in, because you don't want to overpack them. You don't want them to be solid blocks of hard soil. So there we go. Our 2 seed trays are set and ready to go. I'm going to clean up here a little bit, wash my hands. You can see that bag there. From that bag there, I have about half of a thing left, so I'll be able to use that. That's, like I said, this time I just used that. There's no shame in using it. It is organic, which is a good thing. I would try to stick with the organic, then you know what's in there. I'm going to get cleaned up here, and I'll show you how I put the seeds in. So this part of seeding, so I got everything cleaned up here, got my 2 trays laid out with the orientation in the corner here so I can follow my seeding map. This is the part where it sort of gets boring. So what I have to do is I have to take, each one of these trays is 128, pods, and I got to take seeds and get them in there. There's many different ways to do this. There's people who do it with tweezers. There's people who do it with little machines. What I find the easiest, I pour them into my hand, pick 1 seed at a time. So we'll start here. The first 5 rows are cherry tomatoes. So, I open my seed pack up, which, there's many good seed providers out there. Try to make sure that they're, organic or non-GMO. I'm not gonna harp on anyone who doesn't buy them because of the price or anything. Get what you can afford. Have fun with your kids. There's a lot of seeds in there, but what I do is I just, real quickly go through 1, 2, 3, and pack the seeds in one by one. And if I get 2 in one, I don't spend a lot of time going back and picking it out, because one of those, either I'll thin it out or I will one won't sprout. And so it is what it is. I do, if I drop too many, I do try to go back and grab them, because it's just waste. They are, the seeds are small, so this is a good, tell you what, the first part of the project, my daughter, who's 4, loves to help, and you'll see her in future videos. We'll have her help mix up the seed mix. There's nothing that she loves more than, helping mix up the seed mix and getting her hands dirty. This part, I generally leave to myself or my wife because it's just too small. So you can see that's about how long it takes to do 40 seeds. That's how many we're gonna put in. I'm gonna fold up my, after I'm done, I fold up my package real nice. We'll actually do cycles of these. We'll do another one later in the season here. These are my earlies for my bigger plants. I'm gonna pull you over here so you can see me push those under. So, like I said, I do nothing special. I take a pencil of any sort and I just grab my seed, push it under, and with the pencil there, give it a little tuck under, and then give it a little push with my finger so I know it stays in. Like I said, I find it easiest to have my seed on top already, ready to go. If there's 2 of them like that one, I just tuck it right in, and there we go. Sometimes if you have 2 and you have 2 that sprout, sometimes you can go ahead and split them, and I've had much success with that. Sometimes they don't come apart, and I just pick sort of the best one, and go from there. I just go through and poke all these under. I will come back to you in 1 second. So that is really it. I will get the rest of these planted and set up. What we'll do is we'll take them and set them in a warm area, keep them moist for the next couple days. Some of these will start germinating within 3 or 4 days. Some will take up to a week and a half, 2 weeks. Like I said, I like these just because they don't take much room. Come back later on this week and we will have our shelving unit down in the basement put in for keeping these warm and providing some light once they start getting leaves. For right now, I'm going to tuck them next to the refrigerator and hope that we get some sprouts. Till next time, thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Have a great day.